It's the Fellowship of the Geek Show, a weekly podcast about comics, the comic book industry, and other geek pop culture. Music courtesy of Manny the Martyr. And now, on with the show! Hey everybody! Welcome to the Fellowship of the Geeks podcast. My name is Thomas Chick, and joining me for this episode is Mike Marlowe.
Hey gang.
Les Webster.
Hello.
And for today's episode, we are joined by a very special guest. It's our friend Eddie Medina.
Hello, podcast listeners.
Yay!
And thank you, Fellowship of the Geeks, for having me on as a guest. I'm excited, very excited to be on.
Well, we're happy to have you on.
Excited, in fact. I got to say, I've had too much coffee.
Oh, good. This will be fun.
Yay! This ought to be a lot of laughs. Yes.
Oh, I was going to say, anybody who listens to my podcast knows what to expect when it comes to hyperactive podcasting and me. So you've been ready. For anybody who doesn't know what I'm usually like on these things. So there, warning served.
Warning. So how's everybody doing? Everybody okay?
Yeah. This week I got a fun little trade that I picked up. It is. Yeah, I know. I read trades. Isn't that scary? But yeah, no. This one is called Fake Empire, and it is a Darby Pop publishing joint, alongside Magnetic Press. It is written by Eric Palicki and drawn by Vinnie Rico, and it is a cool little cop story. And the twist on the cop story is that the main characters in the cop story are the Fey Court. So it's sort of a modern fantasy to an extent, but it's really more of a cop story. And it's a pretty good one, so if you get a chance, check it out.
Awesome. What about you guys, Eddie, Les? What's been going on in your world?
Well, I just started a new book about the partnership of Houdini and Doyle.
Ooh!
So this is interesting to read and then see the TV show and see what differences there are, and there are major differences. But it's really interesting as to even how they first met. So, like I said, I'm just into it, and I should be done with it within the next couple of days, but it is a fun read.
And, Les, you have the best recommendations, I got to say. Like, you've recommended books to Colleen, my wife, for those who don't know, and like every time you've recommended something to her or me as far as books or comics, you've nailed it. Like you are, sir, an all-star when it comes to recommendations.
Well, thank you very much.
So I need to check this out. And I'm a fan of Houdini, so that's a win-win for me.
And praise is not something Les gets a lot of around here, unfortunately. But
really?
He doesn't get nearly as much as he deserves.
Yeah.
Wow.
No, usually it's the bus coming my direction.
He does usually get sometimes as much as he asks for, but that's a different problem.
Wow. Oh, Les.
There was that bus I was talking about.
Right.
Ding, ding, here it comes.
5:10, right on time. There we go.
Also known as the Mike Marlowe Express.
All aboard!
So, Eddie,
thank you very much.
What's been going on your side of the street?
Just getting ready for the upcoming ArlingCon, which is the big Arlington Comic-Con at the UTA campus. I'm going to have a table there in Artist Alley selling some of my artwork and promoting some of the upcoming projects I'm working on and keeping busy with that. Yeah, just drawing, comic, keeping me busy 24/7 seems like. Yeah. I just wrapped up a story for illustrating a comic for Kingdom Comics. It's going to be called Caliburn, and that's supposed to be coming out later in the summer. So we'll see how it turns out. I'm excited because it was a challenging project to draw, but it's going to be cool once it comes out. I think people will dig it.
Cool.
Sweet.
Want to check that out?
Yeah, I'd appreciate that.
Yeah, awesome. Well, for me, couple of things. Kind of want to do a callback from our last episode. Those who've listened to it and noticed, remember I had talked about a particular video game called Dead by Daylight. Well, the official release has come out this past week, and I've been watching the heck out of it, and I'm loving it. I want to get back into video games because of this one. And for those who are not familiar with the game, it's a MMO where there's a group of people. It's 4 people they call survivors, and then there's a killer, and you can play either the killer or you can play the survivors. And the whole premise is the 4 survivors they're trapped in this area, and there's 3 of them. There's like a estate in the woods, kind of an industrial building there as well, and then there's like a farm, and then there's like a junkyard. And it's kind of a take of the old slasher movies. I mean, the characters the killers are kind of in those archetypes. You've got the trapper with a big machete. You got the hillbilly with a big sledgehammer and a chainsaw, and then you got a wraith who can turn invisible. And the only way you can know it is when he decloaks, you hear the sound of like an old church bell or something like that when he cloaks and uncloaks.
Oh, that's creepy.
And it's a fun game. It looks like a lot of fun. And the whole thing is the survivors are supposed to repair 5 generators, which will power up the exit doors that you can get out. But if the killer catches you, you will be sacrificed on a hook to I don't want to call it a demon, some kind of a form that they call an entity that's just kind of over the land. So you see the character get killed and then be carried up into the skies.
Some sort of elder god type thing.
Yeah, pretty much. It looks like a fun game, and like I told Mike and everybody who listened to the previous podcast, this is a game it's got me interested in actually playing video games again.
Yeah. It's funny that you bring that up because just yesterday I had a conversation with somebody who was telling us about the exact same game and was just as enthusiastic as what you're conveying. And so it's like between this guy telling me about it and you are going on about it, and I'm thinking, okay, I've got to check this out because, this seems like it's something that's just not your run-of-the-mill type of video game release.
I tell you what you need to do is go to twitch.tv.
Yeah.
Because since the full release has come out, everybody's playing it, and just go to the directory and go Dead by Daylight, and everybody's streaming it, and see for yourself.
Wow.
It's a blast. And that's how I came about it, is I've kind of been watching stuff on Twitch recently, the last couple of months or so, and someone had talked about this. It's gone back about 4 weeks or so when it was in closed beta, and they were testing it out. I'm like, this is a cool game.
Yeah. Wow.
So it was pretty amazing.
Yeah, I showed Les the other day, and he was kind of laughing about it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it can be very crazy, especially when you're playing the killer. And the other thing is you can do a private lobby, so where you and 4 of your friends can all play the game together.
Yeah.
And when you pick up one of those streamers who does that and is playing, and they're playing the killer, they're usually having a blast doing that. And I've seen one who does it what they would do with the voice changer, that kind of does with the lower evil kind of voice. But one that's really freaked me out is just this girl. I guess she's about 23 or so, but she talks real softly and real quietly, and she's Asian, so she's already kind of talking that way anyway. But she's talking about, "You're all my friends. Why don't you come back to me? I just want to give you a hug. I don't want you to leave," and that kind of stuff. And that's even more creepier than the deep voice.
Yeah, you never accept hugs from a strange Asian chick. So I learned that at ACON last year.
Oh, okay. That may be a story we need to get into another day.
Yeah, maybe so.
As long as you avoid German women at ArlingCon, right?
Oh my gosh, you remember that?
That's a story for another day too.
Right.
Or if y'all see us in person, just ask us about it. We'll tell you maybe.
Yes, how I got attacked by the German Wonder Woman at ArlingCon.
All right,
That was an amazing thing.
That one's definitely going into the future episode topics list.
Okay, obviously.
Fun con stories. Woo.
There you go. The other thing that's happened this week, I came across this by accident, and it's like someone has obviously been picking up some of my vibes, because I had been thinking about this as an idea for a while, but have, obviously don't have the financial resources or the knowledge. But there is it's in beta right now. I don't know how long. There's not much there right now. It's just in early stages. There is a comic book social media. It's called Reality Comics. I have signed up, and I'm checking it out, but not much is going on right now. Like I said, it's in beta, but it would be cool. It's kind of like a Facebook, but it's going to be geared toward not only the comic book fans, but comic book retailers. And right now, from what I'm seeing, it's going to be geared. They mention indie creators. They don't really say mainstream creators, but some of those creators kind of jump back and forth all the time. But yeah. It looks real good. I would like to see a little bit more, but like I said, this is beta, so I mean they're still trying to work things out. But I've been thinking of something like, not necessarily just comic related, but something a little bit more geek related.
Yeah.
Because y'all guys follow me on Facebook, and pretty much what I post is geek related stuff. So and I know I have friends that don't really care about seeing that kind of stuff. So something like this would be pretty cool.
Yeah. Is it just me, or does anybody else, when they hear the expression beta, they think of Last Starfighter? Or is that just me? Okay, because every time people talk about, their beta tests, like, I just start flashing back to Alex Rogan's, beta duplicate, from Last Starfighter. Like, every time, it never fails. And now all of y'all will think that.
Yes, we will. Thanks for that, Eddie. Jeez.
Yeah.
Wow, 2 Lance Guest references in an hour. That's pretty good.
This is welcome one and all to Lance Guest Podcast.
Okay, let's go ahead and mention Halloween 2 since we're at it.
Yes, let's.
We're already there. Why not?
Yeah, why not?
And throw in a dash of Jaws the Revenge.
Yes. All right. For today's topic, this kind of came out of nowhere, and I'm giving credit to Mikey.
Oh, goody. Blame me.
Yeah.
Yay.
Well, I usually do.
Almost always, yes.
well, and almost always you are. It's true.
I am often the culprit. Yes.
Mikey had sent us a message saying, how was it phrased? It was basically. Go ahead.
I believe I put something in the thing that said something along the lines of, "So what are we going to talk about this week, Brain?" No.
So I was like, oh, okay, there we go. Let's talk about cartoons we would like to see come back. So
yeah.
And I thought that would be cool. And I started thinking about some of the ones that have been gone for such a long time. So that's what we're going to talk about. Mikey,
and it's a good topic. Because, Thomas, when you told me the topic, immediately, 3 cartoons jumped into my head. So I was like, wait, this is awesome. I kid you not, I was like, that is a perfect topic. So I'm excited. That's another reason I'm so excited tonight, because I can't wait to talk about cartoons.
Mikey, why don't you lead us off?
All right. It's actually kind of funny that you mentioned cartoons that have been gone a while, because my first one hasn't really been gone that long. My first one is Green Lantern.
Oh, yeah.
It ran 1 season in 2012, and I'm like, why did they stop this? Because this is actually a really well-written series. They had a bunch of nice character development, and admittedly it got a little sappy at times. But when you're talking about the Lantern Corps, I mean, a lot of the colors relate to emotional states. So you're going to have emotional stuff in this. So the fact that the Pink Lanterns show up more than once in the brief run, sappy stuff's going to happen.
Right.
But I thought it was really well written, and I really liked some of the storylines that they did with it. And so I would like to see season 2.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely.
Well, I liked it too because it correlated with the comics at the time. The characters that were in the cartoon were also in the comics, so it all played together.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
That's smart of DC to do that, because you don't hear of that often, but it's cool that they put enough thought into it that they like what you were saying, that they did that, where they were bringing in the current comic storylines and put it into the cartoon. That way people who may only be checking out the cartoon, not the comics, might find their way over to a comic shop to check out what's going on in the series.
Right, and they take one look at the cover and they see characters they recognize, and so they're a lot more likely to pick it up and go, ooh, this might be interesting.
Yeah.
Totally.
Definitely.
DC is very good at that. All of them, well, I'm not going to say all, but I'm going to say 95% of their cartoons are original. They don't draw from the comics. The comics draw from their cartoons.
Mm-hmm.
And in a lot of cases, I think that's very successful.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Definitely.
Yeah, I mean, and that's probably why people rant and rave so much about DC animation. I mean, of course, you can go back and forth all day as to who's got the better movies, DC or Marvel and all. But I think generally speaking, like a lot of people will give it to Marvel for the movies, but they'll more than often not give it to DC for the animation.
Yeah,
because they're constantly hitting home runs with their direct to DVD stuff.
Yeah, I hear the same things.
Yep.
It's insane, some of the stuff that they're putting out.
Les, what's your first pick?
Well, I'm a Hanna-Barbera guy, so I'm going to start off with Jonny Quest.
Oh, yes.
Just the Doug Wildey look to the cartoon was fascinating to me. And now that they're doing the Future Quest comic book, I wouldn't doubt that there's another interest in this. And perhaps Warner Brothers will pick it up and say, let's try another Quest series. Because the original series was, I don't even remember it being 20 episodes. But it was one of those that just fascinated me all the time. The intrigue, the machines, the aliens, whatever it may be, was just a lot of fun.
Do you think it was short-lived, you said, originally?
Originally, I believe it was.
Uh-huh.
I don't remember it being a long series at all. And, that was when, who was the voice of Jonny Quest? Tim...
Matheson.
Yes, Otter from Animal House.
That's still hard to believe.
You're right. It says here it only ran for one season, and it was a prime time show. I didn't know it was a prime time show.
Yeah, I didn't know that either.
Wow.
It was on like 6:30 at night. That was before they shifted to 7 o'clock being a starting time here in the Central Zone.
Yeah.
It was 6:30. So as soon as the news was over at 6, you went straight to the programming. Yeah. That's the way Batman was and some others.
Now let me ask you this, Les. Would you prefer a straight Jonny Quest? Would you prefer Future Quest? Or would you like to have both? It's a valid question because Future Quest is awesome.
Sorry. When you said, would you want a straight Jonny Quest, I thought you were going to say it, or would you prefer Jonny Quest? No. Sorry.
No.
I would say the retro would be fun, but I can see them updating it even into Future Quest. I'm not all that familiar with a lot of the characters in the comic book right now.
Yeah.
But I could see where I would become accustomed to them. I knew who Space Ghost was. I know of the Incredibles and the Herculoids and Mitor, but I didn't really watch them because that was when I was in high school or even later when those started.
Yeah.
But I can see them incorporating some of those characters into a Jonny Quest series. So I'm going to say either.
Well, and I'm sure there's a percentage of people who picked up the book that are not familiar. They may not even be familiar with Jonny Quest. So doing a cartoon based off that, I think would open it up to introduce the other characters and do spin-offs, because I could definitely see it, especially as successful as it's been so far, of expanding pretty quick.
Yes. Thank you. Yeah.
Hey Les, what did you not think much of the Jonny Quest series that came out? Was it like in the 90s or something? You remember? Did you catch that at all?
That was kind of a hit and miss with me.
It was with me too.
It just didn't have the same impact.
Yeah. It was weird because the series started out very futuristic. It was very sci-fi futuristic, and then the second series is almost like they try to correct themselves by taking it back more to the original formula. But I think by that time it was too little, too late with what they were trying to do. So I
think, Eddie, that they were trying to base that series on the comic book that was coming out by, I believe it's Comico.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
And I enjoyed the comic book, but I wasn't all that big on the television series at that time.
It's interesting.
Cool. That's a very cool choice. Andy, what do you have?
Okay, my first choice is a series that came out back in about 87. It was Dinosaurs. And I loved Dinosaurs. And if anybody is not familiar with it, it's basically dinosaur aliens came to Earth, and so you had these. It was almost like the story of Transformers, but with dinosaurs. You had the good dinosaurs and the bad dinosaurs, and they very much played out as if it was like a Transformers type setup where the Dinosaurs were the good guys. I'm trying to think what the bad guys were, because the bad guys were led by Genghis Rex. The Tyrannos, that's right. The Tyrannos were the bad guys. So basically you had these dinosaurs, and they had these futuristic suits on and the weapons. Of course, they were anthropomorphic. And they meet up with basically a group of Earth kids, and the Earth kids kind of like teach the Dinosaurs the ways of man. That way they can like fit into our time, I guess. And it was pretty cool. I say it as a kid, but then I started doing research on it, and I thought, oh, this was 87. I was like in 8th grade. I wasn't so much a little kid, but I still got a kick out of it because I've always been a big dinosaur freak. But it ran for just one season, but one season gave us like 60-something episodes. It was a long stretch of episodes that we got out of it, and that's when I wish that they would bring back, because it was fun. It had silly characters. I mean, looking back at it now, it was really goofy because they didn't even try to get creative with the names. Like, the main guy of the Dinosaurs, his name is Allo. And you can only guess what kind of dinosaur he is. And it's an Allosaurus. And so, like, if it was like the Brontosaurus was Bronto Thunder. Something they weren't even trying. Dimetro was a Dimetrodon. So it was like they just took the species of dinosaur and just shortened it, and boom, that was the name. So it was like really strange. Or Tricera was a Triceratop, and so forth. So it was like they didn't even try to get creative. So it'd be like, that's like saying like, okay, I'm Hispanic, so my name's gonna be Hissy or something. It's like they weren't even gonna try. I guess if you want to sound cool, it could be Hissy Fit or something, but. It was really strange that they didn't even try to like give them like unique names. And so even as a kid, I thought, so this cannot be the only Allosaurus on their home planet, but he just so happens to have the name Allo, Or are they all called Aloe? Are they just like Aloe? I'm Aloe 537. Are they like stormtroopers where they just have like a number at the end of their name? It was really strange how they did that. And of course, again, as an adult looking back on these episodes and watching them on YouTube, I realized it falls into that same goofy thing where they feel the need to incorporate a group of kids like Captain Planet and the Planeteers, where it's like you couldn't just have Captain Planet. You had to have the Planeteers. And I get that they were trying to do that so like kids can relate to certain characters. But it's like they didn't have to do that with G.I. Joe. There was no G.I. Joe and the young scouts, following them around, for kids to identify with. So I could have done without like the little group of Captain Planet type kids that were in, like in the series. But if it was just straight Dino on Dino action, I would have preferred it. But it is what it is. It's goofy. It's fun. Oh, and this is something I didn't realize back in the day because I wasn't familiar with the name. But I did, and once I kind of started looking them back up on YouTube and watching them again, I realized the creator of Dinosaurs is none other than Michael Uslan, who gave us the Michael Keaton Batman, who was responsible for Michael Keaton Batman. He gave us Dinosaurs, so boom, there you go. That tells you why it was so cool.
What goes around?
And another thing I never realized as a kid that I realize now watching them again is they also suffered from the Smurfette syndrome, which is you have all boy Smurfs and then Smurfette. Well, then you had they had all the Dinosaurs and then one female dinosaur. But they went a step further. They had one female dinosaur for the good guys and then one female dinosaur for the bad guys.
Well, didn't they have that with the G.I. Joe as well? Wasn't there one chick on each team?
At first you had just Baroness and Scarlet, but then they incorporated Lady J and CoverGirl, and then later on Jinx, but that came way later. But yeah, I mean, but it's like that in anything. When you look at Star Wars, until recently you only had Leia. You had Leia, and then in Empire you had one of the ladies say one line, and you had Mon Mothma and Jedi say one line, 2 lines, or whatever. So it's like, yeah, we get that all the time. You just, as a kid, you don't realize it until you get older and think, wow, where are all the girls in this, this stuff? But that would be my pick is Dinosaurs. It's silly and it has the wackiest characters. Once I started rewatching them, they were really clever in like basing some of the characters on what was popular at the time. Like there's a character called Dinosaur Dundee, which was obviously a takeoff of Crocodile Dundee.
Wow.
And then I never realized this back in the day. And then to even top that, they were trying to play off the name of Gatorade. Oh, it was Gator Maid. It was the maid of the main dinosaur, and they named her Gator Maid. I thought, come on, really?
That's horrible.
It was just all sorts of silliness. But what was cool about it is throughout the 64 episodes, they slowly worked in. I'm big on cryptozoology. Like anyone who knows me knows I just go wild for anything that's cryptozoology. There was an episode that had Bigfoot. There was an episode that had the Loch Ness Monster. There was an episode that had the Abominable Snowman. So I was like, when those episodes came up, I was like, yes, Bigfoot. It's like dinosaurs and Bigfoot. It doesn't get any better than this. So my hope is that one day they'll bring back Dinosaurs, or at least release it on DVD so we can watch them properly.
It sounds like you found most of them on YouTube anyway, so.
There's a few, definitely not.
Definitely, you want them to get remastered a little bit and
just a bit, maybe
better,
some special features. Yeah.
Right.
And I seriously got all 64 on YouTube. I've only come across like maybe 8 or something.
I can just.
Then again, I haven't looked that hard.
I can just sort of picture the DVD commentary in my head with them basically on every episode just going, yeah, we ripped off Transformers here, and we ripped off Transformers here, and we ripped off G.I. Joe here. I wouldn't expect them to do every episode. Let's put it that way.
Right, but it was a wacky series.
I hadn't heard of that one. I'm gonna have to check that out. So not only have I heard of a new cartoon, got a name for a new superhero, Hissy Fit.
Oh man, that's a book that needs to be written right there.
Yep, there we go. Thank you, Eddie.
There you go.
The world's worst superhero.
Right.
Eddie, welcome to my bus.
Nice.
Mike and I kind of were on the same wavelength. My first pick is Young Justice. That was that was awesome series. It only lasted 2 seasons, although there has been a rather vigorous Twitter campaign for the last several months of trying to get Netflix to maybe green light a 3rd season, because the cast and producers and all that is like, yeah, keep watching on Netflix. Let them know that there's an interest to do it. The first season was really good, but when we got to season 2, it was like 5 years later, and the original guys had moved on, and it was kind of the next wave, and we had some peeks into what happened, but we didn't get everything. That's just, you talked about the DC animation knocking it out of the park every time. This is one of them.
Yeah.
It was so well written, and the characters were so relatable and so cool. There was such an outcry when they canceled it, and for them to turn around and bring back Teen Titans Go, Teen Titans, but they just made it a little bit more. I'm not sure which word I really want to use.
Childish.
Yeah, I mean, the original Teen Titans, some of it I could stand, especially when they got into the whole story arcs with Deathstroke. Those were pretty cool, but when they brought it back, it seemed like they tried to gear the show a little bit younger, and I really just could not watch that. So the fact that Young Justice got axed in favor of this was really sad.
Yeah, Teen Titans Go is just Dexter's Laboratory, but with DC characters. That's all it is. It's just silly goofiness. So I have a question, Thomas.
Yeah.
So with Young Justice, for someone who just has no clue as to the background stories of these characters, is it a series that welcomes like just a new audience that's not familiar with the DC characters? You think, or do you have to be steeped in the history of the characters to really get it?
I don't think so, because I think they kind of, I mean, if you watch them in order, they do a pretty good job of kind of going over some of the backstory, because the first episode, if I remember correctly, and I'm sure I'm be corrected if I'm wrong, it was the first time they were all put together.
Okay.
And they were trying to learn each other and work and learn how to work together as a team, as well as learn their abilities. And they were mentored by the Red Tornado, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, nice. Okay, yeah. I gotta check this out.
Yeah.
Wow.
They were brought together by the main heroes of DC.
The Justice League, yeah.
Justice League. So, and then they were said, okay, here's the guy that's going to oversee your training, and in walks the Tornado.
Wow. Okay, I'm intrigued. I gotta check this out.
Yeah, it was a great series, and then their headquarters was the Cave, which those who are diehard Justice League fans know that was the Cave was their original headquarters.
Yeah.
Yes.
You know, a long time ago, before they did the satellite and then everything else that they've used since then. So it was a nice nod back. So those who were hardcore could pick up the references and the Easter eggs and all that, but someone who was totally didn't know anything except for maybe just some bits and pieces about some of the characters, they're not lost. They can still enjoy it. Yeah.
Yeah. Sweet.
Yeah.
They too, like I was telling Mike, they too were using stories at that time that DC was producing at that time and characters from that time.
Yeah.
The new Aqualad and such.
That's true.
That's interesting.
It doesn't hurt to make the connection.
Yep. And once again, it was original stories. I don't remember them borrowing any story elements from anything else. I could be wrong on that too, but the original stories to my recollection.
Yeah. Huh. That's definitely one that's piqued my interest. I need to check that out. Is that available like on like Netflix or something, or Hulu?
Yeah. It is.
I think
they're still. It's
Oh
definitely.
shoot! I'm binge watching next.
I highly recommend it. It's a great series. It really is.
Cool.
Mikey.
I'm next.
You're up.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
Well, this is gonna be slightly awkward, but that's okay. Because my next pick is Dexter's Laboratory. Which ran for 5 seasons, which actually surprised me. I kind of didn't think it was that long, but yeah. And honestly, the funny thing is that what you, Eddie, criticized about it just a minute ago was one of the things I really liked about it was the fact that it was just silly fun. It was just absolutely over the top craziness most of the time.
Well, I should actually clear what I actually said. I love Dexter's Laboratory. What I thought was odd was that they put the Teen Titans in that type of setting. That's what I thought was odd.
Well, yeah.
But as far as Dexter's Laboratory itself, Dee Dee and Dexter, I dig it. I really do.
Yeah, that's kind of that was kind of the way I was thinking too, Eddie. Is like, Dexter's Laboratory on its own was great, but you try to use the Titans or maybe someone else that you're just not used to seeing those characters kind of being portrayed that way, and it was kind of I love Dexter's Laboratory.
They definitely kidded it up for the Teen Titans Go thing. Yeah, it was. I mean, I thought it was a little. I thought the first Teen Titans run was a little bit kidded up for my taste anyway. So yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would very much like to see Dexter come back because I don't know, I'm not entirely sure why this show resonated with me at the time, especially given that I was already an adult by then. But I think it was just kind of the combination of the super science and the annoying little sister. It just, I don't know, struck a chord somehow. So I would just love to see some more of it,
Annoying little sister.
Yeah. I don't know where that comes from.
Yeah, I don't know where that comes from either. So,
but see, that's the aspect of the show that I dug the most was Dee Dee. Dee Dee cracked me up.
Oh, totally.
And if I knew Dee Dee in real life, she would annoy the heck out of me. But in the cartoon, oh my gosh, I couldn't wait to see what she fouled up next. It was Dee Dee was the best part of that. Mm-hmm. And Dexter being so serious, DT. Yeah, oh my gosh. It harkens almost back to Abbott and Costello, where you had one that was, the punching bag for all the jokes, and the one that was more serious and all that. So it just,
right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Definitely hit a chord.
Well, with them bringing back Powerpuff Girls, you never know. Dexter may be next.
Right. Could be.
That's true. Well, that's what you got.
Well, keeping on a similar theme to Mike, being an adult yet watching this cartoon, and it also had an annoying sister, I've been dying to see some more Phineas and Ferb.
Somehow I knew that's where this was going.
Yeah, I figured that was going to come up at some point.
Oh, sure.
I just think that was one of the most ingenious programs around, and try to fill 90 episodes, which they have not done. But, if you're looking at the length of summer, you're essentially, even their title says 104 days of vacation. It would be nice for them to hit all 104 episodes. But I think that it is so funny, and watching Candace and see what problems she has is the driving force of the whole show. And seeing her being defeated and deflated by the time the end of the episode goes, I've got tears in my eyes from laughing. Something is going to happen, and there's no better villain that I have found than Doofenshmirtz. Heinz Doofenshmirtz is a great character.
And a great name, too.
Yes. Who else would put a destroy button on any innator that he builds. Well, that's Heinz. So that's one that I would like to see future episodes, but I don't know that they are going to go to that extent.
So I'm really out of the loop with obviously a lot of stuff. So I didn't realize Phineas and Ferb was like no longer a thing, because everyone talks about it constantly. Like at the conventions, like people are always asking me for Phineas and Ferb sketch cards and this and that and the other.
Mm-hmm.
So I just assumed, since it's still like so on the forefront of everyone's minds, I just assumed it was still running as a series. So you're saying it's not?
I think the last special they did was in 14.
Oh, okay. Wow.
And I believe that was it was either their Marvel crossover or it was their Star Wars episode.
Okay.
Which I recommend both, but I really recommend the Star Wars episode.
Mm-hmm.
With Doofenshmirtz in an outfit similar to Darth Vader.
Interesting.
Very cool. Eddie.
Okay, my next choice, this was not done on purpose, like to get any kind of a theme, but it just so happens to also have dinosaurs. And that would be Cadillacs and Dinosaurs.
Yes.
Just tragically short-lived. Only 13 episodes of the series, Cadillacs and Dinosaurs. So when I knew that we were going to get a cartoon that was a Xenozoic Tales cartoon, I was like, what? Are you serious? And I dug it so much. It's just one of those things where it was, as an animated series, it was almost too perfect, and you just had to wonder, why did it not catch on? Why just 13 episodes? But, it is what it is. And at least we got 13 episodes. But yeah, the series, obviously Mark Schultz created the characters and created the world of Cadillacs and Dinosaurs, but the transition over to it being a TV series, an animated series, was all done by Steven D'Souza. And if anybody knows that name, he's the guy responsible for the screenplay for Die Hard and Commando. So, boom. It's like,
oh, wow.
The guy who gave you Die Hard, the guy who gave you Commando, he's now bringing you Cadillacs and Dinosaurs in an animated series. So I was like, That's another reason why I think it worked, because you had someone of his caliber who took something that could have easily gone into like a more, it's an animated Saturday morning cartoon, let's just focus on the fact that it's dinosaurs and let's just do it so we can sell toys, which they did. Weren't very good toys, but whatever. But he could have easily just made it a 22-minute long commercial for toys. But instead, you could tell he like really thought through, like, how can we take the spirit of what Mark Schultz created and presented to the general public in this animated form. And just some really good stories. I mean, it's been a few years since I've seen them all, but just going through the 13 episodes in my head, I was thinking, I don't remember them having like an off episode. I mean, in the character of Jack Tenrec, they pretty much nailed it. Hannah Dundee, like even the voice actors, like when you hear the voices for these characters, it's like the voices that you would have imagined they had when you were just reading the comic book back in the day. It wasn't like, anybody who knows me knows I'm a big Turtles fan, but I became a Turtles fan because of the Black and White Mirage series. I got in on it, with issue 1, and then boom, I was hooked on Ninja Turtles. So when the Ninja Turtles cartoon came out, I was a little shocked that it was all joking and let's eating pizza and goofing around, and like there's no cursing, there's no blood and guts. Shredder doesn't die at the end. So it was like Cadillacs and Dinosaurs could have easily became what Ninja Turtles became from Mirage series to cartoon series. And instead they kind of kept the spirit of what Mark Schultz had in the comic book and kind of transitioned it to an animated series. And I think that's why it works so well. And dang, if we only got 13 episodes, if we could have gotten more. But, hey. So that's one I hope could come back one day.
Well, you have a friend here. I agree with you, but I think you named as to why they didn't have more than 13 episodes. It was considered a Saturday morning cartoon.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
To me, if they had treated this like Jonny Quest or the Flintstones or the Jetsons and made it an evening cartoon,
yeah,
I think that it would have caught on a lot faster and a lot better.
Yeah. That this was, the one season was just like 93, 94-ish. So that was the era where MTV was putting out the Pit and Spawn cartoons. So it's almost like, you're right, Les, it almost had that avenue available to it where if it could have been picked up in a different way, it probably would have had a longer shelf life. Like if it came a little bit later and was put on Adult Swim,
right,
then yeah, it may have found the audience that it deserved. So.
Yes, Adult Swim would have been a perfect fit for it.
Mm-hmm. So, but then again, the Spawn cartoon and Pit didn't last long either. So, maybe MTV wouldn't have been a good vehicle for it either.
Yeah, but they also gave you Daria and Beavis and Butthead.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Or was Spawn MTV or was that HBO? I can't remember now.
Well, the live action was HBO.
I'm thinking the cartoon was HBO.
Okay, maybe the Pit was on MTV. And
yeah, I
was
remember
on
the Pit being. I remember the Pit being on MTV, but
I'm sorry. I'm saying the Pit. I mean the Max. Sorry.
Yeah, the Max definitely was MTV.
Yeah, okay. Not the Pit, the Max. It's almost the same. Pit, Max.
Right.
Yeah. Some listeners out there saying it's the Max, you idiot, not the Pit. Don't you know the difference between Del Keown and Sam Keith?
I have no idea what you're talking about in terms of talking back to podcasts when you're listening to them.
Right.
Uh-huh.
Pretty sure that everybody does that, but yeah.
Yeah.
I'll be quite honest, I didn't know that they had done a Cadillacs and Dinosaurs cartoon. I did not know that. Wow. Very cool.
Yeah, and I don't think it's even available like on Amazon. I wish it was. Maybe I'll research that. But gosh, it's like it would almost be perfect if they would just put it on Amazon for you to buy it for streaming or something.
Yeah. Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, my next choice. We seem to be kind of on a interesting little kick here, but mine's Codename Kids Next Door.
Yeah, I remember that one.
Yeah, you remember that one? I liked it. It was kind of done as a kind of a spy thing, kind of a spy adventure, except for all the villains happen to be adults or maybe teenagers. Where was it? It's an organization.
Older kids.
Yeah. Yeah, older kids. Yeah. It was such a fun series and a funny series. I mean,
I didn't get that into it, but what I saw was pretty good. It was not one that I kind of got in the habit of watching, but it was always fun when I did.
a couple, one of the villains, or two of the villains, was Mr. Wink and Mr. Fib, which were always together, and it was a nod to Diamonds Are Forever. which I thought was so damn cool, because I'm like,
which is a little creepy, really, but yeah.
Yeah, but but obviously, younger viewers won't get the reference. But when I first picked up on that, I was like, are they really doing that? And come to find out, then yeah, I mean they're based off what was the character's name? So I have to go. Let me look it up.
Wint and Kid.
And yeah, you're right. That's kind of a little creepy, knowing the real characters that they're based off of.
Yeah.
Wow.
But it was fun. I always enjoyed it, and I mean there was a little humor in it, but it was just a blast. And it lasted 6 seasons, and had a couple, which I did not know. And there was a special in a TV movie, but there really hadn't been anything in almost 10 years, which kind of blows my mind because it seemed like it was a little bit more recent than that. But Time flies when you get older. You know how that is.
Never heard of it.
Uh-huh.
Oh, goodness.
Mikey, you got another one?
I do got another one.
Alrighty.
The other one that I got is Buzz Lightyear of Star Command.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, throwback, right?
That's a good choice.
So yeah, it ran a couple of seasons, and it was one of those that, again, I'm an adult when this is on, and I wasn't even a huge fan of the Toy Story franchise. I mean, and I think this ran right around Toy Story 2 anyway. So
Yeah,
it was like
it did.
It was like between 1 and 2, but I think it was closer to 2. And it was essentially like the prequel sort of thing. It was Buzz's adventures in Star Command, and so it was before the whole toy thing and before the movies. And it actually turns out that it was a pretty decent little sci-fi show with some really interesting writing and what I considered for a cartoon impressive character development. I mean, these were characters that grew. I mean, even over 2 seasons, that they learned stuff and they grew, and they referred back to stuff they had learned before, and it was just surprisingly advanced in that regard. It was surprisingly mature for that. I mean, for still being a kids show, it was just surprisingly mature. I thought it was really good at kind of giving that subtle educational hint towards teaching kids how to grow up to an extent. And so, I mean, I think it might be a little weird to do now, but I think it could be done, and I think it would be interesting to try.
That's a very cool choice. I did not watch that one. I did not know that one had been around as well.
Yeah, it was one. I had stumbled across it kind of by accident, fairly early in the run, and kind of got addicted and would watch. It was. I'm trying to remember what day of the week it was on. This was like 15 years ago, so forgive me for not remembering exactly. But it was like a weekend morning, I think, and so I would get up, and this is even before I had a kid, so I would get up as a grown-up and go turn on the TV and flip over to the channel that was on, just kind of out of habit every week, and it was good. I mean, I kept doing it for a while, so.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's cool.
It is a good series because I did the same thing. Like, my nephew was really into Toy Story, and so when it came on, he was watching it, and I found that I would just sit there and watch it with him because it was so entertaining. I mean, it was one of those cartoons that crossed all levels. Like, it was just as entertaining to young kids as it was to adults.
Absolutely.
So, Mike, I could see why you would just be drawn to it, like I was.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's a good series for sure. Seemed like it lasted longer. Wow, it's like that's what I'm saying. It's so weird. Like these series that you think they hit it on all the marks. You would think they would just naturally find a bigger audience, but you know.
Yeah, but somehow, I mean, something attached to Toy Story, for crying out loud. I mean,
exactly.
When Pixar was in the process of building the empire,
exactly,
you'd have thought it would have lasted longer, and I find myself wondering why now. I don't have any idea really, but
yeah,
I thought it was weird. I didn't realize it. Looking back at it, I didn't realize it was only 2 seasons.
Wow.
They only made about 40 of them.
Les, you got another choice?
Yeah, I kind of do.
Okay.
I don't know which way to go, though. I guess I'm going to go with the Jay Ward cartoon. And I know it was only part of another program, but I would like to see a Dudley Do-right cartoon return. But let's ditch the movie.
No Brendan Fraser, huh?
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, I avoided the movie, but I did love that cartoon. I loved all of it. I love Bullwinkle, but yeah, Dudley Do-right and Fractured Fairy Tales.
Fractured Fairy Tales, I thought were a scream. I thought they were so much fun.
Yeah. George of the Jungle, like all those cartoons were great.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's pretty cool. Yeah.
It would be interesting to see how they would do that now. It really would.
Yeah. Which way? How would they approach it now? Yeah.
Do you guys remember the the cartoons like Tennessee Tuxedo.
Oh yeah, and Chumley.
Yeah, and King Leonardo and those, which were kind of spin-offs of J. Ward cartoons.
Which was the... I'm so blanking on the character. The one who always told the stories of all his adventures.
Oh, the Colonel?
Yeah,
What was his name?
Did I ever tell you the time that I did this? And the guy, he's going to say, oh, yeah, I think you did, but I need to go check on this. And he starts telling the story anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, who was that?
What was his name?
Yeah. Oh,
I'm not remembering. It's been a long time since I saw those.
I'm going to have to look it up. I am so blanking on this. But it was part of that as well, wasn't it? Wasn't it part of this?
So it was part of that whole J. North little animation package, you think?
Yeah,
I don't think Tennessee Tuxedo was.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Gotcha.
Yeah, Tennessee Tuxedo was separate, but the rest of those were all like bits that they would do during the Rocky and Bullwinkle show.
The World of Commander McBragg.
God, Commander McBragg, yeah.
Who did the voice?
Oh, I'm looking it up. I recognize that character now. Yeah, Commander McBragg. I wouldn't have remember the name, though, but I do remember watching it.
Kenny Delmar.
Okay, he was the narrator on the Tennessee Tuxedo show.
Okay.
That's the connection.
And did other voices, too.
Best known for his stammering, non-talking as Senator Claghorn on the Fred Allen Show, which was the basis for Froghorn Leghorn.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
That's, yeah.
Okay.
Cool.
Thank you.
The World of Commander McBragg. Yeah, that is him. Cool. Eddie, what's your next choice?
It doesn't have dinosaurs in it. It does not.
I don't believe you.
Yeah, right. No, this time around I'm going to go with Spider-Man Unlimited, which, again, just 13 episodes.
Wow.
I don't know, it was like that unlucky number 13 that these series keep ending on. But I know they order them 13 at a time at this point. But, yeah, Spider-Man Unlimited was really cool because I've always been a big Spider-Man nut. So I remember seeing the promo for the show early on. Of course, it came after the regular Spider-Man animated series that was big during the X-Men animated series of 92 and all that. So, Spider-Man was already back in everyone's minds because of the cartoon series. And I remember I was working at Six Flags at the time. I remember seeing the commercials that Spider-Man Unlimited was going to come on that Saturday, and it was a new series. And I remember seeing the 30-second little promo shot and seeing his new costume. I thought, that's a cool-looking costume. I even to this day, I dig that costume design that they did for Spider-Man on that show. And I saw that it was going to take place like an alternate Earth and everything. So I was like, okay. So it was one of those things where I set the VHS recorder to, I almost said DVD, recorder to record. I double-checked it, and before I left to work, I triple-checked it. And boy, I was not disappointed. I mean, it's not the most perfect series by any stretch of the imagination, but being a big Spider-Man fan, it was awesome. Seeing that opening episode where, it starts out where John Jameson is in a rocket and he's going to blast off so he can explore this alternate Earth dimension that they've discovered through this wormhole or something. And of course, Peter Parker's there taking pictures of the send-off. And he sees Carnage and Venom, climbing on the outer hull of the rocket ship. So he changes into Spider-Man and tries to stop them. And then they all get blasted into this alternate Earth. And in this alternate universe, it's being run by basically this character. His army is a half-breed, half-human, half-animal breed of characters called the Bestials, and they're being led by the High Evolutionary. Now, I think isn't the High Evolutionary from the comic books?
Yeah.
Okay, I thought he was. At the time, I wasn't sure, but looking back on it now, and so it was really cool because Spider-Man kind of became like a rebel in this world. He meets up with John Jameson, and we get the Man-Wolf in animated form for the first time. Like, we actually get the Man-Wolf in the series. And I thought that was cool that we got that because, you know, again, Man-Wolf, you know, didn't think he'd get him in the Spider-Man cartoon. And so Spider-Man kind of becomes this rebel. He hooks up with Man-Wolf and these other, like, humans, and they try to overthrow the High Evolutionary. And at one point in the series, we actually get Machine Man, X-51. And I thought that was cool. Yeah, I thought that was cool that we actually got Machine Man in the series. And, I mean, I guess he's referred to as X-51 in the series. And so we get him also. And it was it was a shame because they ended on a cliffhanger. I guess they just assumed that, you know, whoever was going to order another season of cartoons. So it ended on a cliffhanger. We never found out the rest of the story. And, you know, it was kind of a shame, but it is what it is. But definitely would love for them to pick up Spider-Man Unlimited again and continue the story and give us, at the very least, wrap up the cliffhanger. It ended with, I think, the High Evolutionary. You pretty much thought he was about to be defeated by Spider-Man and X-51 and Man-Wolf and everybody else, and Venom and Carnage were involved and all that, and it, you know, just kind of ends on a cliffhanger. You found out the High Evolutionary was like the uncle or the grandfather of the female character. It was like they were trying to build up all this drama, and we never got any answers to our drama. So,
wow,
there's all that. But it was a cool series, and again, if anything else, it's a heck of a design on the Spider-Man costume. And I think the reason why they went that way, I never really got the full backstory, but there was something like on the legal part of it where they weren't allowed to base the series on Spider-Man's traditional-looking costume, or they couldn't draw from his past. So that's why they had to change it up and have it be this alternate universe. Like it had the Vulture and Electro in it, but it was like a different version. It was an alternate reality version of Electro and the Vulture. You know, they did all that because they couldn't use the traditional Vulture and the traditional Electro in it. So it was strange that they had to approach it that way, but I guess it opened up doors creatively for them to think up new things for Spider-Man to do. So that would be my pick.
Yeah, because I would never in a million years think about putting Spider-Man against a High Evolutionary. That would not be one that I would have thought of. So yeah, that's definitely original. Yeah, that's cool. That is very cool.
Oh, and as a side note, while we were moving on with the podcast, for Thomas, if you are interested in checking out Cadillacs and Dinosaurs, apparently it is available on Amazon streaming. And it's also available on, because it was put out by Nelvana Studios. Nelvana's got a Nelvana Retro YouTube channel, and apparently they have the whole run of Cadillacs and Dinosaurs on their YouTube channel. So you can watch it that way.
I'll check that out.
Yeah.
Neat.
And we might as well go ahead and put a link on in the notes section for anyone else who might be interested in checking it out.
Cool.
Can't be free.
Yep. Cool. My third pick, I love coming home in the afternoons from school and watching this every day, and it was Battle of the Planets.
Oh my gosh. Dude, that was going to be one of my choices too. I was going back and forth on that one.
Based off the anime Science Ninja Team Gatchaman. I love coming home every day and watching it. It was about, oh God, I don't know how many seasons. There was something like, I think there was about 85 episodes or something along those lines.
I was thinking in the 80s or something like that.
And of course, they were heavily edited. Some of the stuff was, I'm not talking about just redubbing for English, but there was some stuff that was cut out, and they added the whole concept of Seven's Arc 7 and Susan, and anyway, it was a fun action adventure story, sci-fi, and all that. It was so different compared to everything else that was coming out at the time.
Oh yeah.
And obviously, since it was anime and it wasn't actually a cartoon that was being put out here in America, so. But I loved it. It was so fun. Now they've tried to bring it back a couple of times, and it's never taken off. And I think was there a live action film that was done?
Overseas there was. And it's not that old. It only came out a few years ago. It's fairly recent. I haven't seen it myself though.
I had heard that they were gonna do that, and there was gonna be a Star Blazers too. Although I think it was called Spaceship Yamato.
Yeah, Space Battleship Yamato.
Yeah. Which I haven't watched that one either. And that was another good one. That was another anime.
Yeah.
That was a couple of years back. They had the first season of it on Netflix. I don't know that it's still there. And there were more seasons of that because I was kind of disappointed that it wasn't all there. But
yeah, because it wasn't there like a couple of seasons of them going. Where were help me refresh my memory. They were having to go.
They were having to go to this alien world in order to get a machine that they could bring back and save Earth with.
Save Earth, yeah. And because I remember every episode ending with...
They had 1 year to do it.
Yeah.
And they got to a point where it was like 11, they had like 49 days left to get there or something, and then they finally made it, and they, I guess, teleported them back or something. There was some weird, they made it. Spoiler, for an anime that came out 30 some odd years ago. And that was just the first season. And I know there were supposedly at least 2 more seasons that I don't know anything about because I don't have them.
Right. I don't think they were shown that much when they were originally broadcast.
Yeah, they may not have ever even. I don't even know that for sure that they were done in English, that they were translated or whatever. But I know they were out there somewhere.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, Thomas, you and I must be right at the same age because I remember the same thing. Rushing home from school, wanting to see Star Blazers. Well, that too. I was big on Star Blazers.
Battle
of
the
Planets.
Yeah.
And that was the thing. On the playground, if we weren't playing Star Wars, then we were playing Battle of the Planets.
Yeah.
And if we were playing Star Wars, I had to be Han Solo. If we were playing Battle of the Planets, I had to be Jason because Jason was like the Han Solo of the team to me.
Oh yeah.
But nobody wanted to be Keop. Let me just put that out there.
I wonder why.
Yeah.
It would be hard to. It would be hard to do the voice. You know.
Yeah.
And you know who did the voice of Mark, the leader of the group, right?
No.
It was Casey Kasem.
That's right. Yes. Casey Kasem did like just about every kind of animation during that time.
Oh God, yeah.
Yeah.
And then, I'm looking at the cast right now, and it's kind of sad because we've actually lost 2 voice actors recently. I mean, one just within the last week. It was Janet Waldo.
Yeah.
Who was also the voice of Judy Jetson.
Mm-hmm. Saw that.
And then a couple weeks earlier, we had lost Alan Young.
Right. Yeah.
Who was the voice of Seven's Arc 7 and did some other stuff, other voices. But it blew my mind to see that Key Luke was actually doing the voice of Zoltar and all of them. And for those who are not familiar with that name, he was the number 1 son in the Charlie Chan movies back in the 30s.
And he had a really long and busy career too. I mean, he's one of those guys that if you saw him, you'd know who he was.
Oh yeah.
And if you saw his face, you'd be like, "Oh, that guy!" And he was in everything. He was in tons of stuff, all the way up into his 60s and 70s. He was.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah. Around in a lot of stuff.
So, and then you talk about Jason. Jason was done by Ronnie Shell. If you ever take the time to do a Google and look at his face, that's another one you've seen hundreds of times doing guest spots, especially in the 70s and 80s. He was also on Gomer Pyle show as Duke.
Oh wow,
he's good buddy.
Yep.
Yeah, gotcha. Huh.
So, pretty nice little cast doing voice work for this show.
Yeah. Yeah, I loved Battle of the Planets. I mean, I went so far as I'm gonna this is a podcast first. I'm telling the story. When I was a kid, I was so obsessed with Battle of the Planets that I got one of my mom's foil pie pans that, the disposable kind, that once she was done with it, I got it, had her wash it out, and I tried my best to form that pie pan into the shape of their helmet. So that way I can have a Battle of the Planets helmet. Obviously it did not work out because my big melon head, there's no way that was going to work.
One of your early attempts at cosplay.
Yeah, exactly. But it's funny you brought it up earlier, Thomas. You're referring to it. Obviously, it's an anime, but back then we didn't have that terminology. It just
That's right.
You did all I knew to compare it to is I knew to compare this to Star Blazers and compare that to Speed Racer. Like, I didn't know anime. I didn't realize that there was that connection, but I knew that they were Japanese produced cartoons, but I just kind of lumped it in together with like Star Blazers and everything, and then of course later Robotech and all. And it wasn't until later that anime in our culture, took a bigger jump in popularity, obviously.
Yeah.
But
it was just a different look compared to everything else, and that was part of the reason why I kind of stopped and watched, and then
oh my gosh,
realized,
yes.
hey, the stories are great, and the characters and all that. So, it was a blast.
Yeah. The animation was like nothing you were seeing before then. Like anything in like Star Blazers again. I mean, the space battles in Star Blazers, the explosions when things are like, you would just have multiple ships explode at once on the screen. It's like, for a kid, you're thinking, oh my gosh, what is this? It's like, this is not Looney Tunes. It's like, it would drive you crazy that there was such cool action on the screen, And it says here, you're talking about it got edited down for graphic violence, profanity, and transgenderism.
Wow.
Yeah, because there was the whole thing about Zotar being transgender.
Yeah, so they edited out enough of that to where that wasn't so obvious in the American version.
Yeah.
I mean, it was kind of there anyway. I mean, come on, it's like, even as a kid, it's like, why is he wearing lipstick?
Right, yeah. Exactly.
But yeah, man, Battle of the Planets, it's a classic.
Well, cool. Great choices all around. Is there any more anyone kind of point out before we move on to our weekly picks?
I think I'm good. I could keep going on for weeks about stuff that they should bring back, but I'll refrain.
I will throw an honorable mention to Danger Mouse. The reason it's an honorable mention is because it is back. Netflix is running them. Netflix is actually just cleared for season 2 of Danger Mouse. I have not actually got a chance to watch the new ones. I'm still watching the old ones. I'm almost done with the old ones. And it's funny. It's one of those shows that it's good, but it's good for reasons that I wouldn't have understood when I was watching them originally. It's just a string of bad jokes, and they're good bad jokes. But it's a lot of fun.
Wow.
But yeah, season 2 should be coming out soon on Netflix of the reboot of Danger Mouse.
If I had to do an honorable mention, and it's not an animation, but I have to throw it in just for the sake of throwing it in, it would be Lance Link, Secret Agent Chip.
Oh wow! Oh wow!
Somebody needs to bring that back somehow.
Oh, they can't do it because they don't have Ava Goda to do the voice. Oh man, it won't be the same.
They could get someone that sounds like Abe. But just the sight of those chimps just flapping their lips like madmen, that was the best.
That's not why that show's not going to come back. Pagoda's that's not the reason. I think PETA might have something to say about it. But.
They may have a little something. Yeah, they may be a little bit upset about that. So
my honorable mention is Clutch Cargo.
Oh.
Because to me, there's nothing like seeing a mouth move around a head like it did on Clutch Cargo. I'm not sure you guys are aware of it. I don't know if you've seen any episodes, but the animation would be there. They would film someone's mouth speaking, But it would always start to move around, and you're going, stop, you're making me dizzy. And the plots weren't all that good, but they were fun.
Uh-huh.
And it was always a danger risk there. So to me, it was entertaining.
Yeah. He had that Batman, the animated series, Batman chin. That big Batman, Kevin Conroy chin.
Yes.
Yeah. Gosh, I've forgotten about Clutch Cargo until you said the name. And as soon as you said it, I could picture that awkward human mouth on the stiff animation.
Yes.
Wow.
Well, my honorable mention will be Super Chicken. I love that show. It was with Fred, of course, tagging along, and of course Mike and I made kind of reference a few weeks back about using you knew the job was dangerous when you took it, Fred. Such a great, funny cartoon. It was part of George of the Jungle, if I'm not mistaken.
I think you're right.
I believe so.
Wasn't it? I think that was part of that show. Which, hey, George of the Jungle, that would be great to bring back too. Because that was just so stupid it was funny.
Again, let's forget the movie.
Also minus Brendan Fraser.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Oh my gosh! And while we're at
so many cartoons.
right, while we're at it, can we go ahead and bring back Davy and Goliath?
Gee, Davy.
Davy. Oh.
You seen the evil version of that?
I refuse to. I love Davy and Goliath. I do not want to taint my mind with the evil version of Davy.
Where you got Goliath going, kill them, Davy. Kill them all.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I even seen that one. But...
They deserve to die, Davy.
Oh, wow. Actually, I may have to check this out.
Oh.
That does sound kind of funny.
Oh, okay.
Oh, goodness.
Okay. Some awesome picks. So when we come back, we'll do our weekly comic picks. And we're back for our weekly picks, and for this episode, I'm leading off. My first choice, and there's quite a few good choices for this week. My first choice is Action Man #1. It's from IDW, written by John Barber, with art by Paolo Villanelli. I'm sorry for butchering your name, sir. But this is a modern take of Action Man, which is basically a British version of G.I. Joe. When the original G.I. Joe action figure, they weren't action figures, but they were 12-inch dolls back in the 60s. When they started coming out, they were trying to branch out internationally. But when they got to England, they didn't use the name G.I. Joe. They changed it to Action Man. So that's kind of where this is coming from. And in this series, the character who goes by the name Action Man is actually killed off, and his protege is forced to take his place and become the new Action Man. So it's an interesting premise. I mean, it's not something that we hadn't heard of before, but it's still kind of interesting. So I definitely want to check that out. And I read the preview as part of this year's Free Comic Book Day festivities, and it was kind of interesting. So that's kind of what piqued my interest. The second choice is from PS Art Books. It's Pre-Code Classics, Journey into Fear Volume 1. And this is actually collecting Journey into Fear issues 1 through 7 that were originally published from 1951 to 1952. And I've been kind of really on a big reprint of the 50s and 60s comics, because you just don't really see them that often, whether it's the horrors or the horror books or the romance stuff that like IDW's been putting out with the Weird Love which has been a hoot to read. You can see that Mike approves of it too.
I agree. Yeah. It's been fun.
So I'm glad that PS Art Book has been doing this, and they've been doing this for a while. It's not just horror, but they've been going back and doing some of the older sci-fi comics and the jungle fantasy comics and that kind of and those sorts of tales. So I would like to check this out, and especially since it's going to be in a nice hardbound collection, so it ought to be pretty cool. Mikey, what you got?
Alrighty, so I've got a couple of picks. My first one is Bitch Planet, which is which is an image book by I know, shocking, by Kelly Sue DeConnick and Val DeLandro. Issue 8 is coming out, and so we are in. I think we're still in the second arc. I'm not entirely sure, but and we are focusing on Cam, who is one of the characters. She's the character that pretty much all the eyes are on right now. There is a wide array of very, very interesting characters in this book, and right now Cam's the focus. But so she's got some stuff going on, and it's going to be fun to see what's happening to her, although it will probably be brutal, whatever it is. Nothing else. This book is nothing but brutal. My second pick is Pretty Deadly, which is also an image book, and is also written by Kelly Sue DeConnick, with art by Emma Rios. And this is issue 10 coming out this week, and this is the end of the second arc. I know that for a fact. And so we're coming to the end of Sarah's kind of storyline here and what's going on during the war. And this is a book. Pretty Deadly is a really interesting read. It is. I'm hard pressed to describe this book, but I'm going to go with it is by far the most literary book out there right now in terms of comics, and I mean that in the best possible way. So it's the writing is just it borders on poetry most of the time, and the art is just almost indescribable how interesting it is. So it's if you have not read Pretty Deadly, I definitely think you should. It's a book that whether you like it or not, it's going to have an impact on you. So definitely want to check that out. Les, what do you got?
Well, I'm going to start with back issue number 89. Tomorrow's Publishing is putting this out, and what they are covering are Bronze Age adaptations. In this magazine, they talk about radio or television cinema brought to the comic book. In this, you'll find things like The Shadow, Tarzan, 2001: A Space Odyssey, Battlestar Galactica, Land That Time Forgot, Star Wars, and the one I'm really interested in, The Seventh Voyage of Sinbad. And that had been done twice, one by Marvel and one by Dell. Dell did it shortly after the movie came out, and Marvel did an adaptation, I want to say about 18 years later. So to me, to sit and read about the process as to how they came about, and they have some artwork, pencil work and such from Gil Kane and Gene Colan, Howard Chaykin, right there in the magazine. So to me, it's going to be a fun read. The second choice I have is a book from Permuted Platinum. It's Man from Atlantis, written by Patrick G. Duffy. This is Patrick Duffy of Dallas fame, of Man from Atlantis fame. In the book, they're going to cover the origins of Atlantis and Mark Harris, the part played by Duffy. And Harris has been under the protection of Dr. Elizabeth Merrill, who was played by Belinda Montgomery, since 1976. So he's been, if I read this correctly, he's been in hiding for 40 years. And this is probably going to be pretty intriguing. I don't know much of Duffy's writing. I don't know if he has done other novels, but I'm kind of ready for this one.
Interesting that it's kind of a modernization.
I think so, yeah. I think it could be totally different because it's a totally different audience.
Right.
Yet there'll be enough nostalgia there that will draw people like me in.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I like the idea.
Yeah,
I love the fact that they're getting him to write the book. That's
very different, yes.
Yeah, it kind of because didn't Richard Hatch at one point write some Battlestar Galactica, either novels or comics or something?
He did
have a hand in some comics.
Okay.
Yes.
He did write some novels too.
Did he?
Okay. Thought
Yeah.
so.
I remember seeing his name on something not long ago.
And regarding this, because I've read something about this a while back, or just within the last couple of months or so, I think this is a story he's had in his head for a long, long time, because I think it's supposed to go over some of his origins, and it could, because apparently he's always had an idea of where the character came from and all that kind of stuff, to where they obviously didn't get a chance to really truly address in the show. So he's always had this idea, so now he's had a chance to be able to put it in a novel. So it's cool that he's finally able to tell that story that apparently he's been wanting to tell for a long time. So that's really cool.
Yeah, totally.
And congrats for him to be able to do that.
Mm-hmm.
So he's doing a Kylo Ren. He's going to finish what he started. Yes.
Wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
he went there.
Yeah, he
I
went
did.
there.
Nice
Alrighty.
segue.
Alrighty, what kind of picks do you have?
Well, to segue into my pick, it's Star Wars: The Force Awakens.
Hey!
The adaptation, and I'm actually excited. I got really excited when I first heard that they were doing an adaptation, because I was actually disappointed when the movie was about to come out and all the hoopla was going about with merchandise. One of the first things I looked for was the comic adaptation, and there was no, peep about there being an adaptation. I was like, come on, Marvel got the license back. This is what Marvel was known for back in the day, was adaptations of movies upon movies. When they did the Marvel Super Specials, we had everything adapted. Buckaroo Banzai, Blade Runner, Raiders, like everything got adapted back in the day. So I just assumed that they were going to do Force Awakens. So I was a little disappointed. So now I've come to find out, boom, it's come out this week. And so I'm excited. And it's going to be a 5-issue series. So it's not going to be rushed. It's not going to be like, like the aforementioned Buckaroo Banzai, and Blade Runner. They were only like 2 issues. Like, how do you adequately adapt a movie like Buckaroo Banzai in just 2 issues of a comic book? So it's cool that they're spreading it out over 5 issues. And Luke Ross is doing the art, so big plus there. And like with any other Star Wars release, there's going to be different variants. I don't see that there's going to be a figure variant. That's a little disappointing, because I was hoping for a Rey or Finn figure variant cover. But the variant cover that did catch my eye was the Joe Quesada cover. It's cool looking. It's a black and white image, and it's just of Rey and BB-8 at nighttime, sitting on the sand dune, her with the X-wing pilot on helmet on, and looking up into the night starry sky. And I think it's a really striking image. And Quesada's line work is, it's unbelievable. But when you take away the colors and you just look at Quesada's line work, black and white, just the work, it's the line work itself, I think it gets enhanced by there not being color. So that would be my first choice, would be the Force Awakens adaptation. Second choice would be one that really jumped off the list at me, and that's Deadpool v Gambit #1, and they make it a point to under the title put the V is for versus. So I'm imagining that's a little jab at Batman v Superman. So I'm not big on Deadpool. Like, the Deadpool I was a fan of was New Mutants 98 Deadpool and X-Force #2 Deadpool, where it was that old school Liefeld Deadpool where he was the wisecracking deadly assassin, not the Deadpool Looney Tunes cartoon that he turned into in modern day. But after seeing the movie, the movie was a great mix of old school Deadpool and the new Deadpool to me. So I'm kind of digging Deadpool right now, and I've always been a big Gambit fan. Like, Gambit's one of the X-Men that I don't feel just he doesn't get his due. Jubilee is another one. I was like, Jubilee should be getting more press than what she does, and so does Gambit. So to see that they're doing a Deadpool Gambit comic, that's pretty cool. I'm interested in seeing what they do with that. And it's a cool cover because it's got them facing off against each other. Gambit's holding his staff up to Deadpool, and Deadpool's got his 2 swords at Gambit's neck. So I imagine it's going to be a fun ride with those 2 characters.
Yeah. I was just checking out that Quesada variant, and I've seen it as a color and in black and white, and both of them are very beautiful.
Oh, okay. So it comes both ways. All right.
So they do both. I would highly recommend checking out the Phil Noto variant. That one looks awesome too. But then again, I love his art as well.
Does it say there's going to be a figure variant? Because I didn't see anything on that.
I don't see anything. It doesn't mean that they won't.
Yeah.
They kind of like doing that. I know with the Han Solo miniseries that just came out, that they did an action figure variant, and it was actually Han Solo frozen in carbonite.
Yeah,
and it looks great.
I just picked that one up yesterday. Oh my gosh, yeah, that and the Yoda figure variant cover for number 20, whatever just came out. Yeah, that carbonite Han that caught me off guard when I looked at that, and it's cool because it's the Han figure is really tipped to the side, like because the bubble, you would imagine the bubble's wider because of the carbonite block, and so that leaves more room for the figure to wobble back and forth. You know, it was a nice little touch to have the figure leaning to the side.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah. I'm hoping there's a Force Awakens figure variant cover. That would be awesome.
Well, great picks all around again, as always. Always a good. Like I said, this is a pretty nice week of books coming out, and that's only a small percentage. There's a lot of good stuff coming out this week.
Oh, yeah. It was a tough pick, just picking 2.
Yeah.
It's usually hard to narrow it down, but for time purposes.
And with this being a 5 Wednesday month, I remember there was one 5 Wednesday month that we kind of struggled a little bit, but this month has been some quality stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, that 5th week can be tough sometimes, but
it can be. We'll find out about the 5th week, but so far so good. All right, any shout-outs before we wrap things up? Eddie, you want to go ahead and promote all your final work?
Yeah, sure. As far as podcasting, if you're a big Star Wars fan or even just a so-so Star Wars fan, we welcome all fans. I do the podcast, The Rantcor Pit with Cole Houston. You can find the audio podcast at JediCole.com, and we also do a live video broadcast of the Rantcor Pit with On Air Live Radio based out of the Deep Elm Arts District in downtown Dallas. And you can watch all of our past episodes on our YouTube channel. Just go to YouTube and type in the Rantcor Pit. It'll try to autocorrect it to Rancor, but just Rantcor, RANTCOR, like we're going on a rant. We get all the time people say, you misspelled Rancor. It's like, no, we didn't. We know what we're doing. So if you want to catch the live episodes, it's every first and third Sunday at noon Central, and that's at watchonairlive.com. And as far as like my art stuff, you can follow me on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. Just type in Ed Med Art. That's EDMEDART, and you should be able to find me.
And of course, we'll have that all in our show notes as well.
Oh, cool.
Cool. Yeah. Oh, definitely. Les, do you have any shout outs this week?
Go Revs.
That's right. Well, yeah. Well, by the time this is live, we will know whether they won or not.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah. It's Saturday night.
Yep. Cool. Awesome. Mikey?
No, just the usual stuff.
All right. If you want to, go ahead. Or I can do it. But either way, right. I can do it, or you can do it.
Yeah, I'll get it started, and you can interrupt me if you like, if I'm not doing it right, or whatever, you know.
And then you can finish what he started.
There you go.
You could do a coloring.
All right. So normally we give a shout out to Manny the Martyr for providing our delightful music that we use on our show. But thanks, guys.
Woo-hoo.
We appreciate it.
Definitely.
There's a link to them in the show notes. We're also going to usually shout out Podern Family for all of the promotional love they give us. It's a big group of fellow podcasters who love to promo each other, especially on Twitter. Just if you want to find a podcast, just go into Twitter and type in #Podern Family and go nuts, because there's a ton of them, and there are a lot of great shows there.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah. So thanks, guys. And then we also want to shout out you, the listeners, because by golly, what would be the point of us doing this if we didn't have listeners? So you guys are important to us, and so we definitely want to get feedback from you at any time. If there's something, just any comments you have for us, any hoorahs, any you guys kind of messed up type things, just track us down. And this is where I'll let Tom take over.
Sure. Yes, we appreciate any kind of feedback. We definitely like to have reviews, whether it's on iTunes or Stitcher. We have links on not only on the website, but we'll have all the links on our show notes as well. You can always email us, email at thefellowshipofthegeeks.net, or you can go to the website and go to our About Us and Contact Us page, and there's a form you can fill out there. Social media-wise, we are on Facebook, The Fellowship of the Geeks. We are on Twitter, obviously, as at Fellowship Geeks. Mikey has his own personal page at Mikey Geek, and I'm at Tom TC Geek. I think that's anything. Did I forget anything?
No, I think that covers it.
I'll just say. Well, I didn't say it, so Mike did, but I'll say it again. Thank you for downloading. Thank the episode. Thank you for listening. It's much appreciated. We do not take that for granted. Please, we would like to know what you think about the show. The response has been overwhelmingly positive, and we appreciate that. So thank you once again. It's been a blast, guys. I really enjoyed this episode. Thank you, Eddie, for coming on. You're more than welcome to come back anytime you want, man.
Awesome. I really appreciate it. It's always, like I said, it's always fun to play in someone else's podcasting backyard, but it's even more fun when it's a podcast I've been following and a fan of. So this has been awesome.
Well,
I've got a big smile right now.
It sounds like it too. It sounds like you have a great big smile, and it's been fun, man. Thank you for coming on.
Definitely.
And whenever you want to, you're more than welcome. Just say, hey, what are y'all doing this week? And we can say, okay, we're doing this, and you're more than welcome to join us, man.
I appreciate that. That means a lot. Thanks.
Awesome. Thank you.
So until next time, guys, read more comics and support your local stores. We thank you for listening to the show. Comments, suggestions, and questions can be sent to email@thefellowshipofthegeeks.net. You can follow us on Facebook at The Fellowship of the Geeks and on Twitter at Fellowship Geeks. Until next time,